Barcelona off to a winning start in this season's Champions League at St James's Park. As we welcome in Luis Garcia, we've also got Don Hutchison with us as well. We'll talk to both of those guys in just a moment. I do want to start back with you, Craig, about Marcus Rashford absolutely turning on for his side tonight.
Yeah, and he has to, because he's on loan at one of the best teams in Europe. He's been given this great opportunity off the back of doing not a lot at United and a little bit at Villa. So he has this magnificent chance, albeit he was in tonight because Lamine Yamal is injured. So getting game time from him will be difficult, you would imagine, but not if he's doing that. That's going to say to Hansi Flick, you know, give me more game time. This is what I can do for you. He was brilliant. He looked sharp on that left-hand side. He looked pacey. He was direct. Obviously, his 2 goals are the talking point. The second one was just absolutely outstanding. But that's what Marcus Rashford has to do if he wants to earn a move to Barcelona full-time, which I don't know if it's going to happen, or if he wants to earn a move somewhere else after his loan spell. He's back in the shop window, and the more performances he puts on like this, the better chance he has at getting away from Manchester United, which ultimately United want, and ultimately Marcus Rashford wants. So a brilliant, brilliant performance from Rashford. And I've got to say, from Barcelona in the second half, they really controlled and dominated the game, not just with possession, but with their closing down. They really closed down in 3s and 4s and pressed the ball in Newcastle's half, and they struggled, Newcastle that is, to retain possession. And that was a big problem for them in the second 45.
A really positive display from Rashford tonight, absolutely paying off that faith that his coach has shown in him, Luis.
Yeah, and we've been talking a lot lately about him, that he could show what he's good at, that is that strength, that speed, that power that he's got. He's good at good finishing. But in tight spaces, he was going to have trouble. We saw in the first game against Mallorca, he was trying to find his gaps, trying to drop, asking the ball, and he was struggling a little bit. And today, I think we can see a little bit. We've seen a glimpse of what Rashford can provide to this Barcelona. When he's on with the space at the back, Trippier couldn't handle the speed, the power, that direction. He doesn't hesitate any time to try and face you on 1v1, because he knows that he's got ability, he's got skills, and of course that fantastic touch. I like this understanding with Rafinha. We saw it on one assist in the last game. Today, try a couple of times, and this understanding between him and Rafinha is something that we are going to see quite often. He's got that ability to see the runs on opponent, on teammates, and today try a couple of times again to the diagonals of Rafinha is something that for Barcelona is also new. Those fantastic transitions going forward.
And now he's just got to keep it up, Don, like Craig was saying at Barcelona.
Correct. I think my takeaway from looking at Marcus Rashford tonight, take away the 2 goals, I think he looked physically fit. It looks like he's muscled up at the same time. So now he's at a proper football club where the demands are so high. The coach, the players inside that dressing room will put that on Marcus Rashford. I think it's never been in question about Rashford's ability. He can do it on the football pitch, but what's his lifestyle like away from the football pitch? That never really gets him fully fit consistently on the pitch. Now I think at Barcelona he's got a brilliant opportunity, as I said, because the demands are so high, and he has to be on it, and he has to be fit, and he has to live his lifestyle right, because you see the performance in the second half. He was quiet in the first half. It was a tight game for him. Trippier handled him quite well, but the second half he turned it on. The first header was immaculate. The second goal was a wonderful strike. I've seen him do that for Man United against Man City in a Manchester derby a few years ago. Thunderbolt of a shot, and then he grew in confidence. He played with a bit of swagger, and that's what you want to see from him.
Is there anything that Hansi Flick will be looking at in this game, knowing that Newcastle were getting their chances and that late on there was that goal as well?
Well, Gerard Martin's, I don't think he's Hansi Flick's favourite player, and he was a weak link a little bit in the first half on the left-hand side. Alanga had the sort of pace on him. They played the high line again. They caught Newcastle offside quite a few times, so that worked better than it did against Rayo Vallecano a couple of weeks ago when it was horrible. But again, go back to Marcus Rashford. The problem he's got is game time. You know, they coming in and coming out. You know, Lamine Yamal comes back, Rafinha plays, Lewandowski, that's the preferred threesome. You're sitting on the bench, you're getting 20 minutes here, 10 minutes there, maybe a half there. That's the difficulty, is performing like that when you're not getting consistent game time. But I thought Barcelona in the second half really flexed their muscles.
What did you make of Barca tonight, Luis?
I like it very much, honestly. Going to Newcastle is not an easy game. The intensity and the physicality of the team, it was proven the first 45 minutes where they were pressing man-to-man whole pitch, and that's not easy for Barcelona because you cannot even have time to receive. But they were adapted. They managed those 15, 20 minutes where Newcastle was having the best chances. And it's like Ray is talking about in the second half where they found the chance to score the first one and then the second one, and they controlled the game. They understood that it's not about trying to get the third one. It's about having the ball, putting pressure on Newcastle. They made a massive, huge effort in the first 45 or first 60 minutes, and they get a little bit tired, so it was more difficult for them to chase the ball. So it's a very mature team. Let's not forget, it's not the Lamine Yamal there. There is always a threat, and probably we're going to talk a lot when he is not there. But it's a Barcelona that is ready to face the big challenges of the Champions League. Is ready to face physical teams, technical teams, and tactical teams. So I think that this Barcelona is ready to challenge for the trophy.
And that really made it a difficult night for Newcastle. Don't forget they clambered into the Champions League, I believe, via the 5th spot in the Premier League. That was given, one of the 5th spots that was given to England. So they clearly are a team that are building. They've lost Alexander Isak. Obviously, they made a new signing. The striker didn't play. He came on. And they're ultimately, match day one, they're playing the team that was, most entertaining team in Europe last year. PSG apart for the second half of the season, they were probably just as good when they won the Champions League. But also they were the Barcelona at one point, I think, were the favourites. Everybody thought they were going to go on and win this Champions League. And they haven't got any poorer. They haven't sold any of their best players. So they've got good continuity. So when you think about it from Newcastle, they gave a good account. I think they learned a lesson tonight, is that when you do create the odd chances in these games against elite level teams, you've got to take them. You've got to take them. I'm thinking about Anthony Gordon in the first half. I'm thinking about Harvey Barnes at the back post. And when you don't take those chances at this level of the competition, it generally comes back to bite you in the bum. And that's what happened here. So, it was a good performance from Newcastle, given who they were playing against. But I think just a lesson to them that, when you're playing in the Champions League, particularly against the big wigs like Barca, you've got to take your opportunities because you know that they're going to create them at the other end and they're probably going to stick the ball in the back of the net, which Marcus Rashford did twice brilliantly.
How are you feeling from the Newcastle perspective after that, Don? What did you make of what you saw from them?
I was fine. I thought it was a fantastic game of football to watch. I think when Newcastle come into the game, it was interesting that he went with the speed merchants at the top end of the pitch rather than Voltemora, because he wanted that counter-attacking pace on either flank and through the middle. As Craig said, they should have been 1-0 up when Anthony Gordon had a fresh air shot within probably 6 or 7 minutes, and then Harvey Barnes had a great effort at the far post, so they could have been 2-0 up. I think what Newcastle done tonight, Kay, they made the pitch in the first half very small, so tactically they went man for man on Barca, and we didn't see much of Pedri, didn't see much of De Jong in the first half. And they almost played the game, Newcastle, and I think they had to, like a Premier League game, full of intensity, get the crowd engaged, get the crowd latched onto the game, run hard, physically be very, very strong. And they'd done that in spades in the first half. I thought they were fantastic. Then what happened in the second half, Barca started to use their football brain, and Pedri got on the ball and De Jong got on the ball. It all came after Barca's first goal, which the boys will tell you, once you get that shot of confidence, you can play a little bit more, especially away from home, and then you can relax. And then Rashford hits a rocket to make it 2. Then all of a sudden, we just saw Pedri's class and De Jong's class, and they slowed the game down. And they just looked, for about 20, 25 minutes before Newcastle scored, a cut above. So I think Newcastle's takeaway from the second half is when you're playing in the Champions League, there's going to be a time where you're going to have to play clever football, brainy football, slow the game down. You can't just run a million miles an hour all of the time and expect to get some joy. Having said that, I'm contradicting myself because they could have been 2-0 up in the first 15 minutes. So I think Eddie Howe will learn a lot. I think the game was a great one. Barca probably just about edged it when you look at the balance and the flow of the game. But for Newcastle fans, I think they can be quite proud of their performance. They didn't get outplayed. They didn't get embarrassed.
I think one of the differences I noticed was, and it's not a surprise, is that when Barcelona really pressed in the second half, Newcastle struggled with the ball retention. It was all a little bit rushed. So it was coming straight back. When Newcastle pressed, Don mentioned it, Frankie de Jong and Pedri, even under pressure, were able to take the ball in, pop it around the corner, play it out to Koundé, play it back to the centre-half, take up a good position and get them out of that hole, get them out of that press. And that was one of the big differences, the quality that Barca had in the middle of the park. We all know how good Pedri is, but I think de Jong's a tidy footballer as well. He's well prepared to take the ball under pressure, and they did that better than Newcastle, and it's one of the reasons that they got so much possession.
And we're going to get to Napoli in just a moment, but the reason I even mention Napoli is because we've been taking a look with Marcus Rashford doing what he did tonight at other former Manchester United players who've been in action in the Champions League this evening. Marcus Rashford, Rasmus Højlund, Scott McTominay, what they've done this season for their new sides compared to the only goal scored for their former side, as you can see on the other side. And it's talking about the grass might be greener. Is there something in this, Craig?
Well, there's no doubt there is a negative attitude at Manchester United. It cannot be, and we've all sat in dressing rooms, Luis and Don, and when you're on a run that is negative and when the pressure is on, it's no fun. It's not as much fun going to training. It's not as much fun walking into your dressing room and you're seeing that squad, and when you're winning and your team's doing well, a dressing room can be one of the greatest places to go into. Everybody wants to get in first and have a bit of banter and get on that training ground and work hard. And there's no doubt that we said the grass is greener. I think it's just a lot of these players, or these players that were on the graphics, have gone to play with better players. There's no doubt about it. And Rasmus Højlund's gone to play with better players. It's Napoli, isn't it? At Napoli. Scott McTominay left to play with better players at Napoli. Marcus Rashford has left to play with better players, even at Aston Villa, but certainly at Barcelona. And so as long as you don't buckle under the pressure and as long as you go in with the correct attitude and see it as a fresh start, then the chances are you're going to do better than you were doing at Manchester United, because you're playing in a team that's positive, you're playing in a team that's having some success and has had success, you're in a dressing room that's happy, there's continuity, and that gives you a platform to go and play. And if you can't play in that platform, then it's you. It's you. And I think what we've seen is, and it's very early for Marcus Rashford and all these players, Scott McTominay apart, it's early for the other two, but it's definitely easier to go in somewhere that's a happy camp. There's no doubt about it. And we all know that United has not been a happy camp. You've only got to see Ruben Amorim's press conferences. I mean, his chin's on the desk. He can barely pick his chin up when somebody says to him for about the millionth time, "Are you going to change your system?" And he's like, "Oh, just get me out of here." And I think the players sort of sense that, and I'm sorry to go on a little bit, but you go and play with better players at a club that's happy, then you generally play better yourself. And I think we're seeing that with some of these players that were on the graphic.
Do you agree with that, Luis?
Yeah, 100%. Dynamics on teams are huge involved in what a player is feeling. He's talking about, do you want to go to the dressing room, do you want to enjoy the training, and you don't want to leave. You are having fun, you are enjoying, and because the team is doing well. In the moment that these kind of dynamics are going against you and you are not involved and you are moved apart and you feel that maybe somewhere else you could do better, there are many different ways to go somewhere else, and maybe if your attitude is not the right one, probably you're not going to do well. But if your head is trying to improve, trying to continue learning, trying to continue developing, and you move to another place, and in the other place that those dynamics are better, that they are a positive and a good environment to go to train, and the results, everything is going to get better. You are going to give 120%. You're going to improve even the performances that you have done, and probably you're going to get even the player that you were looking for the last few years back. So, yeah, I think in the case of Rashford, this is a new start, a new fresh start, and I think he's taking it the way that it has to be taken.
Before we go to Don, who's been in more dressing rooms than you and I have had hot dinners, with all the clubs that he's been at, right, including in one with me for Scotland for quite a few years. They've done, this is isolation. Rasmus Højlund, Marcus Rashford, this is isolation. This is a great evening, particularly for Marcus Rashford. But at the end of the season, there has to be much more of this, or it's been a failure for him. So, you know, I think it's... we don't want to jump the gun here. Marcus Rashford's all of a sudden brilliant again, and Barca are going to buy him, and he's going to be the best player, and all that sort of stuff. This is one evening against one of the sides in the Champions League that is certainly not considered a favourite.
Given that Craig said you have been in many a locker room, Don, which was the worst that you've been in terms of attitude and atmosphere?
Oh, that's an unbelievable question. I think just to add to that list as well, I'd add Anthony Elanga, who had a good couple of years at Forest and was man of the match for the first half tonight, who was brilliant. And I'm not dodging the question, but I was with Ian Darke last night, and we were sat together before we were commentating on the PSG game, and we were literally putting the world to rights on the problems at Man United. And I said to Ian Darke, I said, can you imagine if Ryan Giggs was at Man United now, one of the best wingers we've ever seen in the game? Amrin would have him inverted, playing it in field, trying to get on the ball, trying to be like, you know, getting on the ball closer to number 9. The guy was a winger. So that's what Amad Diallo is on the right-hand side, and that's what Garnacho was. Dressing room-wise, I think when you're losing, Kay, I had a great dressing room at West Ham when we went down with 42 points, which is still a Premier League record. That was a great dressing room because we had brilliant players all around of us. We just didn't perform for whatever reason. When I was young at Liverpool, young, naive, different culture. But Craig's right though, and Luis is right. When you're in a dressing room and you're spiralling as a football club and you're not winning games, and it's hard work, it shows on the training ground, it shows on your match day performances, it shows in your overall demeanour, it shows in the lack of fitness if you're not 100% taking care of your diet or your body or your fitness, if you're not going to the gym, if you think you can skip a few gym sessions because you think you want a little bit easy. So I think that's where most of these Man United boys were, in a downward spiral, and you'll go and see them enjoy themselves and go on and flourish, I would imagine.
Yeah, OK.
I wondered how we got into Man United. I was sitting here scratching my brain and I was thinking, it's that graphic.
Yeah.
And that's a great point Don made, because we played in that era where Ryan Giggs played and David Beckham. You know, Giggs was fast and Beckham was one of the greatest crossers and passers of the ball. And that's like Ruben Amorim saying, you know, as he is in his current team, you know, no, I don't want you crossing the ball, David Beckham. No, I don't want you running down the left wing, Ryan Giggs. I want my wing backs to do that because this is my system. So, you know, that's slightly frustrating. We've had that discussion, of course, and that was a good point on Elanga, who, again, another player who's had to go away and find his feet. And dare I say it, you know, that's probably not going to be the last. There's probably going to be others, depending on what happens on the managerial front, leaving Manchester United and probably going on to play some better football.
Yeah, we're certainly going to find out, but it has been a good night for Marcus Rashford.
Only we can rub Man United's nose in it when they're not even playing.
And so it would finish with Manchester City 2-0 up against 10-man Napoli. That red card coming for Di Lorenzo in the 21st minute. Erling Haaland with the goal and Jeremy Doku as well. A good start for Pep Guardiola's men. Should probably start, though, with Erling Haaland. He's the fastest to 50 goals in the Champions League. It was Ruud van Nistelrooy who had it before him. He'd done it in something like 62 games. Haaland's done it in 49. That's
yeah, and for all the talk sometimes that we have, not just on here, but back in England, when he has quiet games and he doesn't score, and people talk about his link-up play, and he doesn't do this and he doesn't do that, and his first touch sometimes can be a bit heavy. At the end of the day, he's just a beast, isn't he? I mean, his stats are there, as you said, for everyone to see. He's been doing it since he was a teenager. He does it on the big stage. He's just such a handful for defenders. But it's not all sort of brawn, is it? When you see that little flick with the header, he's got a great understanding of where the goalkeeper was. And it's an amazing record he's got. And, of course, he's been banging goals for fun in for Norway as well, for his country. So he's super confident at the moment, but Man City are going to need him to be so, because they didn't get tested defensively tonight, really, because, with Napoli going down to 10 men with Di Lorenzo getting taken off, it became sort of a dig-in sort of performance for them. But this front line of City are going to have to take the pressure off a back line of City that's going to become under pressure this season, not only in the Champions League, but in the Premier League. We've seen it already from Tottenham, we've seen it from Brighton. But in terms of Erling Haaland, if I was a centre-half, he's one of the last players that I'd want to be playing against week in, week out, because although he's not the most subtle at times, He's got the pace, he's got the power, and his goal-scoring record is absolutely fantastic.
It's something Manchester City absolutely need this season if they are to come back from what wasn't the best season last year, Luis.
Yeah, exactly. And he's a player who wasn't on the spotlight last season. A lot of times, because when he's not involved, he's really not involved. We've seen Erling Haaland for 45 minutes touch the ball only twice or 3 times, and that's something that, of course, it was a massive concern, I'm sure, into the team, how to bring the ball in good condition. But it was the whole team, the one he wasn't function the way that we've seen it for many years. And Pep Guardiola was trying to find a way, because they were also a team that was conceding many goals. In some occasions, they looked just very vulnerable. And today, I really wanted to see if they were going to be tested by a very good Napoli, who started very well in the Serie A. Is at the top with three games with victory. And I wanted to see if they were going to put a good test with De Bruyne. I'm sure very excited to be back in their home and to feel against the former teammates. So, it was a pity that right after 20 minutes they lost a man. They have to go out, and then the game was over. It was about time that Manchester City found a way of scoring that first one with that beautiful touch of Phil Foden. That I'm sure the Pep Guardiola that we heard talking about him is going to be very pleased to see him involved once again into the game and assisting once again like we've seen in the past few years.
It's hard not to look ahead, though, isn't it, now? Because we know it's on the horizon for them. We've got Arsenal next. But we're seeing Donnarumma in goal now, and it seems to be the fit so far. Foden good tonight. Rodri's back, getting fitter. Haaland scoring the goals. Could this be a turning point for them?
Well, for me, it's how they defend this season is going to be the crux for them, because we know they'll generally create chances and they'll score goals. They have people to do that. But we've already seen in the games against Tottenham and Brighton in particular that their defence was sort of torn apart. So this is going to be the kind of another acid test for them. But to go back to, and I don't know what Don thinks or the boys think about this. Somebody was talking on this show a week or so ago, may have been Nedum or somebody, about City playing a bit more vertical, for a buzzword, or playing it forward a little earlier this season, maybe playing it a little longer. And I think that will benefit them, but I think it'll also benefit Erling Haaland and others. Because, and with Donnarumma coming in, he's not one for Donnarumma, if you watch him in Italy and at PSG, he's not one for the tippy-tappy in the 6-yard box, because he knows that's not his strong point. So maybe he'll just hoof it up there a little quicker. But to go back to what Luis was saying about sometimes you don't see Erling Haaland much in a game, and that is true. But that's not all been his fault. Because City have been guilty of playing this possession, tiki-taka, slow, backwards, sideways sort of football with, when you look at the stats on a Monday morning or whatever it is, and they've got 70% possession plus, but it's not always in good areas. And if you're a striker making runs, you're getting so frustrated. And I think maybe this season we're seeing a little glimpse of City getting away from that. I think if you looked at the game at the weekend, their stats were actually down. I think below 50%. And so that's maybe telling us that it's less about that this year and more about being a little bit more direct, squeezing the game up and getting more ball up to Erling Haaland. And I think, to be honest with you, I think that would benefit them.
And with all that in mind, Don, how big is this game against Arsenal going to be? What are we going to learn about City from this clash?
It's monumental for them, because I genuinely believe if they lose that game against Arsenal, they'll be 9 points behind Liverpool. So I don't see them coming back. I mean, they're in good form and they're playing well and scoring goals, but you can't give Liverpool a 9-point head start. So going into this Arsenal game from a Man City point of view is huge for them. I think from an Arsenal point of view, and Mikel Arteta, you'd simplify this game and simplify your team talk. And you'd say, listen, if we beat Man City today, the chances are we're going to knock them out of a title race. So it's massive for Arsenal if they can topple Man City and take them out of a title race. But for City, I think a lot of their troubles last season was down to a little bit of circumstance in terms of how many injuries they got. I always thought the worst move they made at the start of last season was selling Julian Alvarez. I thought that was a really bizarre move. I know they got like £90 million, but it left Erling Haaland playing every domestic game, every Champions League game. He then got injured. He couldn't then sort of get fit towards the end of the season because the amount of games that he was playing was just ridiculous on him But now with like Reinders and Cherki and Marmoush and Foden, Doku, Savinho, they're quite well stacked. But the game at the weekend, I think, for Man City is absolutely monumental. Lose it, and I think they're at the title race.
What's your prediction, Luis, for Arsenal-Manchester City?
1-1. That's what I see, and I hope that that's what is going to happen. It's good that the both teams at the moment they are trying to catch once again the Reds because they're in a great moment. You could see that the team is working in a perfect way. But I like what I saw Arsenal. I like the way they are playing once again with a lot more confidence against Athletic Club. They didn't even have a chance. And Athletic Club is one of the best teams in La Liga. As we all see every single weekend, named to be in the top 4. But again, when you play against Manchester City, those fights are always very difficult to call them. And I could see that both teams are going to try to win it. Both teams are going to try to. For Manchester City, I think it's even more important not to go away for a gap that is very difficult to handle in the next coming months, because let's not forget that the Christmas time will arrive, then it will arrive March, and if you got that base, it's going to be very difficult to close down. They're going to be also another low or high during the whole season. We know that it's very difficult to keep that consistency in the Premier League. But I think that winning today for Manchester City was very important to get that feeling back again and to face against Arsenal at the weekend.
But it's a huge game for Arsenal. I mean, it's a big game, obviously, because the two teams are two of them, you'd imagine, are going to be the closest to try and topple Liverpool. But for Arsenal, they've already lost to Liverpool away. They played a tight game, didn't create a lot, lost that late goal to Szoboszlai's fantastic free kick. But for the psyche, you don't want to be losing to your two biggest rivals early in the season, particularly when you're at home, as they are in this game against City. And I really, although it wasn't the strongest Champions League game for them, for Arsenal, going away to Athletic Club, I really like what I saw from the front players in particular. I think Noni Madueke, if I'm Arsenal, and I love, I'm a big fan of Eze as well, but he had a little quieter game before Martinelli come on and then Trossard come on for Gyökeres. But bearing in mind City have their issues in the full-back position, particularly at left back, and Saka's injured at the moment, I'm sticking that ball out to Noni Madueke, who was brilliant again in midweek. He was fantastic for England in Serbia, and he's one of the most direct wide players we have in the game, certainly in England at the moment. Always the first thought with Madueke when he gets on the ball is not to go back that way inside, it's to get turned and try and back his full back up. And we've seen it quite a lot this season, and he's fast, he's quick, and he's direct. And I just feel this game for City is going to be a real acid test of whether their back line, even with sort of Rodri back in the team and fit again, protecting that back four, but whether this back line can stand up to the rigours of a 38-game Premier League season, or whether the flaws from last year are still there. And I think, we've had some early season views on the flaws in the games that I mentioned, Tottenham and Brighton. Didn't see much in the United game because United really didn't offer a lot, but we will see it at the Emirates at the weekend. So they're going to be tested to a full 100%. And quite frankly, I just think Arsenal are going to be too good for them. I think Arsenal are a well-oiled machine. I think the squad is very good. The defence is good. The midfield is strong. And they've got options in the front line. And I think it could be a long day at the office for Manchester City at the weekend.
We will continue to preview that big game this weekend in the Premier League between Arsenal and Man City. And of course, look back on it on Sunday's edition of the show. We are available daily, every single day. Catch ESPN FC. So Liverpool left it late again and have Virgil van Dijk to thank for their latest winner against Atletico Madrid on Wednesday. It is becoming a pattern though, because Liverpool have won each of their first 4 Premier League games this season in similar fashion, with late winners and not always convincing in that game as well. We're seeing different scorers though with those late winners, but they're leaving it late. And whenever it comes to this with the team, as we welcome back in Luis and Don, it does get us asking, is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? You can look at it 2 ways, can't you?
Well, it would be utterly stupid of me to sit here and say winning is a bad thing, because it is not. And this is a great trait to have, that you do. And we talked about it on, what day is this? Thursday? Might have been Tuesday we discussed this in the studio. The very same thing, that it's a good trait to have that sort of energy to keep going late in games. However, as nice as it is to come off with a late win, you can't do that for the whole season. There's no way you're going to keep that up for the whole season. Unless you're just the luckiest team alive. So I think it's been good for them at the moment because it's covering over some of the cracks, because Florian Wirtz has been a big talking point. He's not been brilliant. Mo Salah has been a little quiet. So they haven't been functioning as well as maybe we thought they would at the start of the season. And I do put that down to the new arrivals and the slight change in balance in the team. But in terms of the late winners, it can never, ever, ever be a bad thing.
Where are you on it, Don?
Well, I take you back to when Leverkusen won the league a couple of years back, and they scored 29 goals after minute 80 and 17 in stoppage time. I remember doing a lot of their games thinking, how many times is this team going to score late goals? And they were phenomenal at doing it. So, and if Liverpool carry on that trait, I mean, there's a bit of context to that game as well, because they should have been out of sight when the game was at 2-1, and Liverpool had a lovely flowing move down the left-hand side through the middle, and Florian Wirtz popped off to Mo Salah, who hit the post at 3-1, who should have scored. So the game should have been out of sight, but it's no bad thing if you're picking up late winners.
Do you even celebrate a late goal like this for Liverpool when it's against Atleti, Luis?
Yeah, a little bit. I did a little bit. Of course, I have my little heart for Atletico Madrid, but Liverpool is a big part of my history as well. And yeah, I did celebrate a little bit. Not the celebration they probably deserve, because Atletico Madrid was in front and they were close to do 1 second what they did just a few years back. But definitely it was a very important moment. And it's not ideal to score in late goals, but definitely helps. And much more in the beginning of the season, when the team still needs to adjust to new players, still needs to adjust to a new season, still needs to adjust to the teams that they are going to be more ready, because you're going to be the team to beat. So right now is the most important. If we go middle of the season where you are reaching, because your football is not anymore what it was in the beginning, or is not anymore the one you are expecting, and you are scratching points here and there with those late ones, maybe you can have a concern. But in the beginning, just getting those goals is going to give you even more confidence for when the team is full flow, that is going to be very soon. Let's not forget, in a pre-season time, when the first month starts, the players still not 100% fit. They need to adjust a little bit. So I'm expecting this Liverpool side to be full flow maybe in the late October, when we're going to see the best of Liverpool.
Particularly when you're trying to integrate.
Liverpool would snap your hands off for an Alexander Isak last-minute goal against Everton at the weekend.
Yeah, you're probably right. But I mean, when you're trying to integrate new players into your team, as Liverpool are, when you're trying to go from 3 out-and-out midfielders like they had last year, Szoboszlai, sometimes Curtis Jones, but McAllister and Gravenberg, the 3 guys that are what we would call natural central midfielders, and they've changed the balance a little bit because Florian Wirtz is more of a number 10. They've changed both the fullbacks. Signed good players, don't get me wrong, signed good players, but you still have to integrate them into a back 4 that squeezes up and drops off. You've still got to integrate Florian Wirtz into this Liverpool team, as good a player as he is. And he hasn't been brilliant, and he's been a talking point. But he'd have been more of a talking point if they hadn't got these late goals and Liverpool were not winning, because then more people would be saying, well, what's Wirtz doing? What's he doing? So when you're integrating players in to a new club and a new team, and particularly to a successful team as Liverpool were last year, what you want to do is make sure you're getting the right results until such time that everybody feels comfortable. And thus far, that's what Liverpool are doing.
What have you thought about Mohamed Salah this year, Luis, so far for Liverpool?
Yeah, we are expecting the Mo Salah to score 30 goals every season and to be the best one into the field. And he's a player who at the end of the season, you look back, you see that he has delivered. So we need to have a little bit of a break to his performance, and don't always look that he has to be the main man every single time. You got another 10 players who can give you something extra. And now that you're going to have Ekitike, you're going to have Isaac, you got Gakpo, you got Bird. There are so many players who can decide games. So if we try to take this spotlight from Mo Salah, he will start finding again spaces. He will start finding again movement and receiving the ball in the right positions, where we all know that he's so clinical.
I've always said that what Liverpool will learn is if they have enough players to step up, if and when Mo Salah's numbers drop off. And they have addressed the striking position with 2 players, in Isak and Ekitike. But they need goals from midfield, and you need goals from Gakpo, which he does at that back post. He's pretty good at it. But there is going to come a time where Salah's goals and those numbers that Luis talks about are going to sort of diminish. Now, how quickly and how much they diminish, we just don't know. But others will have to step up, because you cannot continue to just post those numbers when you get into your 30s. He's got the African Cup of Nations coming up as well, so somebody will have to step up in that situation too. But he's an enigma, isn't he? We sit and watch games with Stevie, these Liverpool games, and he's shouting at the team, and it's usually about Mo Salah, because he's having one of those games, and I'm just talking generically, he's having one of those games where he's having a bad touch and he's trying to beat defenders and the ball's bobbling and running away from him, and then the next thing you know, he's volleyed something in the top corner, or he's beat 3 players and chipped the goalkeeper. And that's kind of Mo Salah. When you look at Mo Salah, you generally don't look at 90 minutes of perfection, but you look for moments in games in big games where he steps up and does something. You go, my God, he's been a nightmare today, and he's just stepped up and scored a worldie. And I don't think we're going to see that going away anytime soon.
In the Champions League, we also got to see Bayern up against Chelsea, a game that finished in Bayern's favour, and some errors from Chelsea that led to Bayern's goals as well. Obviously, this is Chelsea, a young side back in the Champions League here. What's your takeaway from this here, Don, on the Chelsea perspective?
Well, 4 English scorers, getting the 4 goals. I think Chelsea were a little bit out their depth. When you go to the Allianz and you play Bayern, it was never going to be easy for Maresca. They're such a young side. They were one of the youngest sides in the Premier League last season. Yes, they've strengthened, but they're still a little bit away. When you look at the big boys, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think all the big boys won over the last few days. Real, Barca, PSG, Bayern, Arsenal, Liverpool. All the big boys won their Champions League games. And for Chelsea, I wouldn't read too much into it. I never fancied them before the game. That is a very hard place to go. Kane got a couple of goals. Chalobah could have done probably a little bit better with the own goal, but Palmer stole the show with his finish. But I just think you're going to see that from Chelsea. They've actually got quite a tough group, but they'll win a few games along the way. And with this new format, they should make the playoffs at least. But I think there's still a bit of room. I think the goalkeeper and centre-backs are still a problem if they want to, really call themselves a team that can win the Champions League. If they want to go toe-to-toe with Bayern or Real Madrid or Barca and the other teams that I've mentioned, they're still a little bit behind, which sounds bizarre when they've spent $2 billion. But I feel as though, without being critical of them, I think they're going in the right direction. They've got midfield players that you die for. They've got a good player now in João Pedro. I think he's sensational. Good wide players, great number 10 in Cole Palmer. So they're getting there, but they're still 2-3 players short, in my opinion.
They spent a lot of money, so there is a pressure there. Not saying they're going to win the Champions League, but there's a pressure to compete in the Premier League. Although they keep rolling this out, they're a young team, which they are. But you're spending $1 billion or whatever it is. So in that sense, there is a pressure on Maresca. Now, a bit like Newcastle, their fight isn't Bayern Munich, and Newcastle's fight, it really isn't Barcelona. It's some of the other teams that are in the groups that they are more compatible with. So yeah, I'm not surprised that both of those teams that we've discussed lost. I'm not surprised Chelsea lost in the Allianz against it. It's a Bayern squad that's a little threadbare. We've talked about that. Vincent Kompany's talked about that. But it's when you spend this kind of money and you're back in the Champions League, you just can't keep rolling out. It's a young team, because the ownership at Chelsea, we've seen it, it's not the most patient. It wasn't the most patient when Roman Abramovich owned the club, and it certainly hasn't got much more patient with the new ownership. So there is going to be that on Maresca, that he's going to have to make sure he gets the results. You just feel it'll be against some of the others in this sort of group stage. But if they don't get through, which they should, but if they don't, that's going to put a big weight on his shoulders. Let's
remember the team that they beat in the Club World Cup was PSG, but PSG back in action against Atalanta. Don was on the call for this game, starting off with a 4-0 win. From everything that you saw from PSG, Don, what's the percentage chance that they'll win the Champions League again?
Well, match day 2 is Barcelona, so that is some game. Honestly, me and Dark were commentating on the game, and it was 4, but I promise you, it could have been 8 or 9. I mean, Nuno Mendes was popping up as a false 9. Hakimi was popping up as a false 9. Marquinhos scored the first goal. Listen, they've got every chance. But I think the competition's strong, so I can't give you a percentage on that one, but they are the team to beat.
OK, there you go. No
He tried.
He tried.
He tried.
But yeah, saying that the team to beat will do for now. These guys will be answering your questions on the latest edition of Extra Time podcasts. And this is the last of the highlights we've got for you today, but we're showing you this because we got to see the Sonny show. Minute 3, Tillman is going to find Son Heung-min after the ball was given up. This puts LAFC ahead.
Well, we saw him in those positions late on in his Tottenham career, and he wasn't the most sort of confident, certainly not the player that started his Tottenham career, but he's getting a new lease of life here in the United States.
That made it 2 there, 55th minute. Oh. There'd be a penalty kick given. Ryan Hollingshead foul in. Olatunji, Rowan Cruz has it saved, bounces off the post and then to the keeper.
Hugo Lloris sits on it.
76th minute. Here's one for you, Craig.
Yeah. No, bug
goes
there.
out.
No, great goal. But watch the defender. Can he put his head in there? Well, no, because he pulls away. Because he's going to get a boot in the head.
There's going to be a fast break here. Bouanga's going to put it across to Son. And Son would get his first MLS hat-trick. And then, late stages of this one, Bouanga himself would have a memorable day because he scored his 94th goal for the club, which means he is LAFC's all-time leading scorer. So plenty to talk about in that clash, and the team will be doing it. Shaka joining Herc and Christina tonight, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Football Americas.
We saw him swanning around in the office, didn't we?
Swanning around, chilling out, feet up. Well, he'll be there tonight.
On his computer again.
Stick around. Luis Garcia's waiting for us. We've got to do extra time. Don's back. Stay where you are. Questions are coming on. Keeping Luis Garcia up for the latest edition of Extra Time. He's in Malaysia. It is morning, so maybe he's just getting up early for us. What time is it, Luis?
6:24 in the morning. Thank you very much, guys.
That's fine.
Oh, pay him double. Pay him double.
No, it's the day's
No, because no, Don. See, what you're going to find here
pay
is...
him double.
He's got a few of these to do to bridge that gap from the shows that he disappears early. When we're doing La Liga.
No, that's not true. That's not true, and you know. That's not true, and you know.
Anyway,
but okay, if you allow me, guys, now that I'm here in Malaysia, we got a massive fan base here, and I got a player in my team that wakes up every morning to check the extra time. Se llama Sumare, and I want to send you a big hug because this guy is a big fan of your show. So just to send a big hug.
Your show?
Our show.
This show?
Every day, yeah.
Oh, it's great to have you watching. I love the Malaysia. You've been to Malaysia. Brilliant football fans, brilliant people.
Yeah. I think a lot of places you'd be surprised. You know, you go to the Caribbean. It's very much the same. So it's amazing how things travel. We got Australia. Oh my God, this is like a self-promo, isn't it? Somewhere else in Africa we're going now, in South Africa.
To keep Luis up even longer. Just keeping Luis up even longer.
I actually met a Chinese presenter who was working for a company that was, this was a while ago, working for a company that was in tandem with ESPN. I can't recount the whole story. But he was over here and he spoke English, and he said the show at that point, I don't know if it still is, the show at that point was going out in China with subtitles.
Amazing.
I know.
I would like it dubbed, though. I would like to hear you in Chinese. That would be amazing.
I don't think so.
But it's great to have all of our international viewers watching. All right, Craig, another ex-Manchester United player shining today. Will it become a point where players will only go to the club just to leave because then they will be better than ever?
Go to the club just to...
Let me go to the club, then I'll leave, and then I'll be amazing.
Yeah, but, I mean... I think, we talked about this on the live show. I think we have to slow down a little bit here. Marcus Rashford had an amazing night, but that's all it was. and careers are not made in one game, and careers are not resurrected on one game, but it certainly helps. But it was good to see, good to see players who are maybe better than they've been showing, certainly at Manchester United. And we know Rashford's a good player, but we also know, for example, Rasmus Højlund struggled at Manchester United. So it's good to see players getting out there and gaining confidence. But again, Marcus Rashford is going to have to, given the opportunity, produce that kind of stuff quite a lot for Hansi Flick, because there's a little guy called Lamine Yamal on the sidelines injured, and he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's not bad at all, is he? Speaking of Barcelona, Luis, next question. Pedri and De Jong were excellent again today, both in possession and in regaining possession. What else can be said about how well they control games for Barcelona?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that they've been brilliant in why Barcelona managed to get the result today. In the moments that where teams panic, they just feel that they are in the normal space, and they are so comfortable on the ball. They play with everyone who are around them. They are trying to find them because they know that the ball with them is safe. And they are, I think that today they were incredible. Don't forget that Frankie de Jong comes from a long injury. He hasn't been involved in the games, and today he just played like a normal game. He was one of the best players into the match. So, yeah, it's very difficult to continue praising, because we talked a lot about Pedri, about Frankie de Jong, how good they are. And this season is going to be huge if they want to do a good paper once again in the Champions League. That again is going to be for them the main target. La Liga, of course, is going to be there. But I think that in their head is to try to arrive far on the competition. So these two players are going to be crucial, clinical for this Barcelona, and to achieve those targets, those objectives.
Because this is how my brain works. Not the biggest brain, but there's a little brain in there. Did you get up for this show, Louise, or did you stay up for this show?
What do you mean?
Did you?
No, I didn't sleep today.
Oh.
I just went through to watch the game of Barcelona, and then the Manchester City, and then be on the show. That's what you mean?
See how your brain works there, Craig. Do you know what I was thinking watching Luis there? I'm thinking he's missed a trick. He should do this in his bed, just all tucked up. Get into bed, get the covers, do the last 10 minutes, and then as soon as he's done, he's asleep. That's what I'm thinking.
If I'm in Malaysia, if I'm anywhere really that's not in the studio here, there's a high possibility of an internet problem.
He's super professional.
You know what I mean? Pull the old wire out. Oh, sorry lads.
He'll be off to the gym next to put everyone to shame.
Scandalous. Scandalous.
Oh, I'm telling you,
that's how his brain works.
I used to do it when I lived in England. I used to do this show. The show used to be but it was called Press Pass then. When I used to do that, which I did quite regularly, every now and again I'd go down to IMG, and the camera, there was a problem, and I'd have a little half-hearted effort at getting the wires in, and then I would ask, I'm like, well, it was determined on whether I was getting paid or not. So if I was told I was still getting paid,
terrible.
even if well,
You break it up, guys.
That's terrible. Luis is just a proper pro at 6:30 in the morning. You're pulling cables out at 11 o'clock at night.
pretty much.
And admitting it, that it was for this company live on air. Craig,
I wasn't
no, I
pulling
didn't do it.
cables
It
out.
wasn't
Well,
ESPN.
I'm not a technician.
Craig, how excited are you for the return of the big table?
Oh yeah, we've got a big screen over there that was brought in for something else that we never used it.
This is the big Champions League table in the league.
36 teams. I know I shouldn't ask you that. 30 odd teams, I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, it was. I suppose in some sense, it was different last year. I mean, it's the same this year, but it was different last year for the first time. So it was fresh, and it kind of was more interesting. I think a lot of people preferred it. Maybe didn't please everybody, but it was fresh and it was different, and I think it was a bit more enjoyable. I think we saw better games. We saw some teams that were given more of an opportunity to get into the latter stages that would never have done so in the group stage. But it's a hell of an effort to squeeze that big table in, isn't it?
I hope it comes back.
I mean, we have enough trouble with like a 6-team table.
I miss it. It is 36 teams. All right.
I know it's 36.
You knew it,
I was looking for clarity and you never gave it
No,
to me.
I just I knew you already had it. I knew you were covered. A top pro here next to me as well. Don, saw the challenge you put on Paul Scholes for Scotland in '99. I can't believe his leg is still on. Was that the naughtiest tackle you ever made, or pretty par for the course in those days?
Nah, pretty par of the course, because I've done a worse one on Vieira when I was playing for Everton, the second last game of the season, when Tony Adams scored that infamous goal, when he scored a brilliant goal, when I give the ball away and Steve Boll, his teammate, his centre-half teammate, flicked it over the top and Tony Adams scored a brilliant volley. But I'd lost my head that game, red mist come, and I'd done a horrible tackle on Vieira, and then which the referee went play on, didn't even get a yellow. And then there's a worse tackle on Emmanuel Petit, and I snapped his shin pad. And I didn't realise it at the time, and the boys will tell you, if you've ever heard a shin pad snap, it sounds like a broken bone. So when I went in on Manu, I heard the snap, and I'm waiting for the pain like on me, and it didn't come, and I'm thinking, and then the reality kicks in, thinking, I broke his leg just before France '98. And then he got up and he walked away, and I'm thinking, well, what was that? And then he looked down, he got his shin pad, and his shin pad snapped in half. It was that bad of a tackle. And he threw it on the pitch and went down the tunnel, and Wenger made a couple of subs. But the one on Scholesy, it's horrendous. Mm-hmm. Kalina, I think, was refereeing, and he went play on at Hampden. It was terrible.
I was playing in that.
Turning around on the pitch, just.
I was playing in that game. That was a huge game. That was a qualifying playoff for the Euros that we lost. Scholes scored twice, but we actually played pretty well that day. But Don's tackle on Scholes, if there'd been VAR, I mean, they shouldn't even have needed VAR, to be honest. But it was one of those games, wasn't it? Because I went for a challenge with Paul Ince in the middle of the park, and Don's partner up front, Billy Dodds, who was my old mate at Chelsea, he just turned his head and winced, and Ince was kind of injured and I was injured, and Doddsy said both of us dragged ourselves to our feet because nobody wanted to be the one that was sort of left on the ground. That's what it was like back then. I mean, you got away with...
Someone done, Kay. Someone done, I think, on YouTube or social media, about a 30, 45-second clip of all the yellow cards in that game. And it's unbelievable what went on. And to go back to the question there, my horrendous tackle on Scholesy took it so well. Scholesy just grimaced. Keegan went mental as the England manager, as he every right to do, but Scholesy just sort of looked, shook his head and thought, that was a disgrace, that tackle, but he took it really well.
How did Vieira take the tackle that you were talking about? I was wondering that when you were saying it.
No, Manu was, well, the worst one was Manu, and I've worked with Manu quite a few times over the last 4 or 5 years. He's a great guy, and every time I see him, he just pulls his sock up and shows me a 6-inch scar down his shin. But the best thing was, didn't he score a brace in the Champions League final? Pretty sure he scored a brace when they went on and beat Brazil. And he went on, he was fully fit, but it was the second last game of the season, and we were at the bottom of the league, Everton, and we needed to try and beat Arsenal, and we had no chance, and they walloped us, and the red mist come down. And as all the stars sort of align or didn't align, if I had got sent off, I would have missed the last game of the season, which was the Coventry game in '98, which we stayed up on goal difference. So the referee on the day at Arsenal not sending me off done me a massive favour.
Any more stories, Don? Because I'm really getting the feeling this is a keep
I'm
Luis.
trying to keep Luis up.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking it's pointless him going to bed, so we might as well keep him up till 8 o'clock.
Well, it's the last one, Luis. Don't worry.
I don't think Kalina. I don't think that was Kalina, because Kalina refereed the game at Wembley. The one that you scored that you were going to tell us about.
But yeah, the reason I asked about Vieira without going on too much was
because he sent me. I've got a picture at my desk of Kalina making me go off for a blood injury. And
when we finish, I'm going to go and take that tackle.
Yes.
Luis, get yourself into bed, and I'll tell you about the time I scored the winner at Wembley. Go on, get yourself into bed. I'll put you to sleep.
I'm still waiting to see how Brazil made it to the Champions League, Don.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right.
A little
last question. It's a pun-related one. Okay. Reds late game heroics word game. Start, bench, or drop.
What?
So imagine you're on the back page of some of the British tabloids.
Yeah.
Later pool. Live it late. or slottage time?
Slottage time.
So we're an editor of a newspaper and we're looking for a headline.
A headline for Liverpool's late winners. What do you like best, guys?
It's a poor effort there, James, huh?
Somebody's got James has got a lot of time in his hand. He's not in,
Luis hasn't.
not in Malaysia.
Will do.
Slottage time.
Slottage time, you like it?
Same.
It was later Cousin, wasn't it? So later Paul, maybe, when they were doing it.
I thought I had a really good headline
Later
of
Pool,
when
I
Man
would
United.
go for later Pool.
Remember when Man United lost at Grimsby?
Yeah.
How did we get Man United back into this?
No,
I
but
don't
you
know.
somehow managed.
But all the headlines, it was great. I thought, again, it's my brain. I thought I'm a grim. I'm a grim.
Good
You
one.
know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
Anyway, move on.
Would have been good. Luis, we're going to let you get some sleep, my friend. Thank you so much for staying up very, very late to join
Thank you
us.
very much.
Well, he's got to go
What
to
a
training
shift.
now. Or
What
do
a
it.
shift.
Yeah, and do whatever he's got to do. All right. Thanks for being with us. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again.